Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. How dua emerges from namaz. The Shia Muslims were almost united in the period of the first Imam Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Muhammad Baqir, and during which period they offered namaz, salat, jointly with the Sunni Muslims. In a century that followed the Holy Prophet, the wave of Muslim conquest reached up to Samarkand beyond the Oxus. With the extension of Muslim territory, there cropped up a number of new problems. Hundreds of schools of jurisprudence appeared to mold the Muslim system of laws, but none could crystallize into definite system, accepted by all. The schools of law represented by the Sunni theologians Abu Hanifa, Malik bin Anas, Shafi, and Ahmad bin Hanbal coded the Islamic tenets. But the problem was, however, to find a correct balance among all these developments when the Islamic world was undergoing radical changes. Islam had to keep pace with and adjust to the fast changing world and the growing of new trend. On this juncture, Imam Muhammad Baqir was the first to bring forth the legal school of Ahl Bayt in view of the prevalent milieu. Kashi writes in his Rijal that before the Imamat of Muhammad Baqir, the Shias did not know what was lawful and unlawful, except what they learned from the people until Muhammad Baqir became the Imam, and he taught and explained to them the knowledge of law, and they began to teach other people from whom they were previously learning. The period of Imam Muhammad Baqir and Imam Jafar Sadiq saw a complete growth of the Shiism in Islam. Therefore, the followers were imparted the doctrine of the Imamat and other tenets of Islam through the agency of Ta'wil, which distinguished them from the orthodox Sunni Muslims. Hence, the Shia and Sunni differed with each other in the interpretation of religious aspects. The major divisions came on surface in the Shia Muslims after the death of Imam Jafar Sadiq. One group adhered to the Imamat of Ismail and other to Musa Kazim, making one group known as Shia Ismailis and other as Shia Isnashiris. The Shia Ismailis continued to offer namaz according to the guidance of Imam Muhammad Baqir. They offered the external form of prayers by acquiring its notion esoterically, while others exoterically. It should be noted that the Sunni theologians turned the Sharia into formalistic ritualism, and hence their adherents were known as Ashabul Zahir, and the Shia Ismailis, or the followers of esoteric tariqah, were called Ashab Ilm Batin. This practice continued from Imam Ismail to Imam Razi Abdullah. Further, it also continued in the Fatimid period in North Africa and Egypt. In Cairo during the Fatimid Khilafat, the names of the Panjtan Pak and the name of the Imam, Caliph of the time were recited in the khutbah, sermon, in every mosque, notably in the Mosque of Al-Azhar. It is related that the ambitious Ismailis in the Fatimid period desired for spiritual progress. Thus, the midnight worship in the form of the private majalis started in Cairo in the period of Imam Hakim bi Amrullah. He established Darul Hikmah, House of Wisdom, which organized two assemblies, namely Majalis al-Khasa, session for the selected, for the Ismailis, and Majalis al-Ama, session for the public, for the non-Ismailis. Later on, a regular and secret assembly on every Thursday and Friday was specifically arranged for most advanced Ismailis, including the women, known as Majalis al-Hikmah, session on wisdom. This was the first time in the Ismaili history that the midnight worship or Baitul Khayal, house of concentration, was given much more progress. Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah said, Qare Buzurg, Baitul Khayal, was highly progressed in the period of Imam Hakim bi Amrullah. It is evident that Shia Ismaili is a Batin, Sufic or esoteric tariqah in Islam. It is an intellectual tariqah. The institution of the Imamat is a cornerstone and paramount position in the Shia Ismaili Tariqa. The Imam is a spiritual guide, exhorting his followers the true interpretation of faith in accordance with the time for their material and spiritual progress. Needless to mention that the Shia Ismaili Tariqa is the kernel of Islam that the Holy Prophet himself very carefully separated from the common injunctions of the Sharia. This kernel was kept reserved for the privileged few and kept on the other hand the Sharia for the mass Ummah. The Shia Ismailis offered their namaz with other Muslims. The most advanced followers seem to have urged the Imam in Al-Maut to guide them in the personal search of the light, a potential right for spiritual elevation. Thus, the period of Imam Hassan ala-Zikr salam was destined to relieve followers from the bondage of the Sharia so that they might engage in the personal search of the truth. The esoteric teachings were not common but confined to some advanced believers. He also abolished unnecessary and irrelevant laws of Sharia and Al-Maut, the occasion of which is called Qaimul Qiyamah. The term Qiyamah literally means rising of the dead, and allegorically it implies an idea denoting the rising to the next spiritual stage, and Qaimul Qiyamah refers to an attainment of the highest degree when a man becomes free from the ties of external laws, whom he shackles and transfigures into spiritual substance, which rejoins its divine sources. The Qiyamah was interpreted to mean the manifestation of the unveiled truth in the person of the Imam. The believers were now capable to comprehend the truth. According to this interpretation, the believers could come to know God and the mysteries and realities of creation through an Imam, the Epiphany, Mazhar of God on earth. It is related that the Shia Ismailis began to recite their own Arabic Persian namaz known as Kalimatul Haq, the word of truth, in Al-Maut period. In the beginning line, the word Hazrat Baba Sayyidina Hassan bin Sabah is mentioned. Also implies its composition in Al-Maut period. It was in practice for a long time in Iran and other parts of the Central Asia. After the commemoration of Qaimul Qiyamah, the Muslims arrayed hostility with the Shia Ismailis in the light of their own sense of propriety. Frankly speaking, they knew little and broadcast more, and the field therefore continued to be dominated by the fanciful impressions. Between 559, 1164 AD and 607, 1210 AD, the orthodox machinery sprouted out from all directions in Iran and Syria, reviling that the Shia Ismailis had violated the Sharia. Imam Jalaluddin Hassan eventually reinstated the observance of the external rituals of the Sharia, notably the namaz, and cemented close terms with the Muslim rulers. Henceforward, the Ismailis began to offer namaz in public, while their Batini practice of worship went into underground. In other words, it resulted the existence of Ismaili Khanqa, cloister, like the Sufis, to observe the esoteric practices in solitude, especially the midnight worship. It conveniently protected the Ismailis from persecution and served in the preservation of their sectarian existence under the hostile circumstances. After the fall of Al-Maut, there emerged a huge gap between the people of Zahir and Batin in Islam. It is quite possible that the Shia Ismailis have much matured their spirits during a continuous hard struggle, that they could be regarded as quite fit to discard the usual external forms of worship and carry on their internal spiritual discipline like the Sufis in Iran. Therefore, the Ismailis forsook 5 times prayers and instead offered 3 times prayers according to the injunction of the Holy Quran. In India, Pir Shams is said to have built 84 Khana, Jamaat Khana. In Punjab, he introduced a Sraiki Dua to be offered thrice a day. Pir Sadruddin established three main Jamaat Khanas in Sindh, Punjab and Kashmir, and also introduced a new Sindhi Dua in Sindh, Punjab, Kutch, Gujarat and Kathiawar. Thus, the Sraiki Dua being recited in Punjab since the period of Pir Shams was replaced in the period of Pir Sadruddin. The external mode of the Sindhi Dua was to build a bridge with the Hindus. It must be known that this dua was formulated in accordance with the cultural environment of India, absolutely not applicable for the Ismailis of other parts of the world, where the Ismailis offered namaz for 3 times. They offered it in the morning and evening, and offered remaining one in the convenient time. After the end of each namaz, they individually recited names of the Imam from Hazrat Ali to the Imam of the time. In the period of 39th Imam Kaliullah Ali, few major changes were made in India. He consigned the task to Pir Dadu to revise the Sindhi Dua of Pir Sadruddin and shorten it in 18 parts. This dua continued till the arrival of Imam Hassan Ali Shah in India. In 1878, Pir Shahbuddin Shah was assigned to revise the Sindhi Dua. He was again commissioned to revise in 1883. It was further revised about 3 times in the period of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah. It is related that Imam Agha Ali Shah had deputed Pir Shahbuddin Shah in Afghanistan to examine their condition. There was no prayers among the Ismailis except that the observance of the namaz with the Shias and Sunnis. He seems to have noted that in some places in Afghanistan, the Shia Ismailis recited the Arabic Persian namaz, Kalimatul Haq, of the Almot period. He is said to have brought its copies in Bombay and confined it in 6 parts to be recited thrice a day in sitting posture. This namaz was however printed in the period of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah in 1898 and sent in Afghanistan. During his first visit to East Africa, the Imam said, "I have printed and sent the booklet of namaz." Why? Because the Khojas are not only my followers, but there are so many followers. Since the Arabs and Badakhshanis etc. do not understand the Indian language, the booklet of namaz has been printed and sent for them. There is no difference between the namaz and dua which you recite. It seems that the original Kalimatul Haq was a sheet-sounding version, and its revised version was as if a gist of the Sindhi dua. The Ismailis recited the tasbih of Ya Ali Mushkil Asan 22 times after prayer in the morning and Ya Ali Ya Muhammad 101 times after the evening prayer. This namaz gradually spread in Iran, Tajikistan, Russia, China and some other parts of the Central Asia and Arab. Soon after the partition of India, the need arose to introduce the Arabic dua. In 1950, Imam assigned Professor Javed Maskati with instructions to compose a new dua in Arabic. About 14 times he received Imam's guidance in this context. The Imam finally approved it in 1954. Professor Javed Maskati said, "I was mere a painter. The original designer was the Imam. Its text was only passed from one to another Ismaili scholar who mastered in Arabic till it was approved in 1955. In 1956, Prince Amin Muhammad and Prince Karim Hazar Imam introduced the new Arabic dua for the first time in Madagascar. In 1960, the Arabic dua started in the world. The practice of the Arabic dua was prevalent in Pakistan, India, East Africa, Canada, United States, Europe, etc., while the Shia Ismailis in other parts of the world continued to offer namaz of their own, Kalimatul Haq, or offer with other Muslims. Dua is most convenient to the followers who practice esoteric tariqah as well as unwavering belief in the hereditary imamat. In other words, the Sharia ritual cannot take its proper place so easily in the tariqah practice. Thus, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah is reported to have introduced the Sindhi dua for the first time in Syria and among the followers of the Central Asia who were in close contact with Imam. Since the time of Pir Shams and Pir Sadruddin, the dua has been considered the Sharia practice in the Shia Ismaili Muslims. In Syria, Iran and some places in Central Asia, the Arabic dua and namaz stands coexistence in the Ismaili Muslims, making difference between them. Thus, in the Holy Talika and the Farman of Hazar Imam of 13th December 2008, the Imam said, "Throughout the Jamaat history, including the Fatimid times, a consistent feature of the Ismaili Tariqa has been complementarily between practices that are specific to our Tariqa and those that are part of the Sharia, common to all Muslims, albeit with the denominational specificities. Examples of these are the historic coexistence between namaz and dua, and the concept of private prayer and personal search, which has an important place in Islam, since it's concerned the relationship of faith with life." The Imam further said in the holy message that a formal, uniform text of the Shia Imami Ismaili Namaz reflecting the imprint of the centrality of hereditary Imamat in the Shia Ismaili Tariqa would be made available to the Jamaat globally within the next year or so. The Imam also said it will affirm the principle of each individual's personal search as guided by the Imam of the time, and the Jamaat's historic commitment to the notion of the common humanity. It infers that there is uniformity in the text of Arabic dua, but it is not so in the namaz. The text of the Shia Ismaili namaz globally will also form uniformity. Besides, the uniformity in the nikah, reflecting Shia Ismaili tariqa, will also be made. The Imam also said, these principles will also be reflected in the uniform text of the nikah, which is to be made available to my Jamaat globally through my institutions over the next few months. Not only the text of the namaz and nikah will be made available, the text of the ceremony of Chirag Roshan in Central Asia will also be made available. In this context, the Imam said, ceremony of Chirag Roshan is an integral part of their Jamaats of Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Northern Pakistan tradition, and therefore I have instructed my institutions to make available as soon as possible a common text which can be utilized for practicing this ceremony. This text will also reflect the principles to which I have already referred. Summing up the above discussion, it infers that the Shia Ismaili Jamaat is spread worldwide and there must be uniform practice of namaz, nikah and the ceremony of Chirag Roshan in such a manner as the present Arabic dua.